we're going to go back and do it. We had done it. I don't want to review everything when it comes to what we had already taught, but we're doing a comparison between Muhammad and Jesus. The reason we did that comparison is because Jesus is obviously the founder of Christianity, and Muhammad is the founder of Islam. And so we're doing a comparison. I want to continue with, and this is dealing with Jesus dying for mankind. But God commendeth his love toward us, in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. And that's one of my favorite verses of the Scripture. The fact is, we can't get ourselves together. We can't improve ourselves. That we have to understand that Christ died for us while we were yet sinners. For I deliver unto you first of all, and that which also received, how the Christ died for our sins according to the Scriptures, that he was buried, and that he rose again the third day according to the Scriptures. 1 Corinthians 15, 3-4. Let's look at Muhammad. Muhammad died in his sins.
Right.
Matter of fact, the Quran does not say that he was assured of heaven.
And it does not say that any Muslim is assured of heaven.
Unless through jihad.
Through jihad.
I was ministering to a Muslim once, and I made that comment. I said, do you understand that no Muslim, other than going into a jihad and committing suicide or dying in a jihad, is assured heaven? I said, even the Quran says that Muhammad was not assured. And he was surprised that I would even pick up the Quran. And I have picked up the Quran. I have read it. It's not an easy read, by the way.
No, I've read large portions of it.
And it's not easy. And I said, even Muhammad, your greatest prophet, was not assured. Matter of fact, in the Quran, it talks about Allah rebuking Muhammad for his sin and telling him to repent. And so there's a great difference between Jesus and, obviously, Muhammad. Jesus rose from the dead, never more to die. It is Christ that died, yea, rather that is risen again, who is even at the right hand of God, who also maketh intercession for us. I apologize. Romans 8:34. Him God raised up from the third day and showed him openly, not to all the people, but unto witnesses chosen before of God, even to us who did eat and drink with him after he rose from the dead. Acts 10:40-41. Well, let's look at Muhammad. Muhammad remained dead. Matter of fact, people go there on a regular basis to see his casket, to see his remains. Jesus released his followers from the ceremonial laws of Judaism. He released them from the cleansing laws, the sacrificial system, and the dietary laws. We are free today as Christians. If we want to eat pork, we can. There's a lot of game animals that we eat today that maybe we would not eat as Jews. A lot of the types of fish. But that's not the case with Islam. Muhammad instituted the laws, the cleansing laws, dietary laws, pilgrimage, and the 5 pillars of Islam. Matter of fact, you're not even allowed to pray. Your prayer doesn't count unless you do a cleansing before you pray. With us, it doesn't matter where you are. I can work construction. Matter of fact, I did work construction for years, and I'd be covered in cement or covered in sand and praying while I'm doing it. I didn't have to go and wash my hands and pray that way.
So I've seen over television footage of Muslims waking in the morning, laying down their prayer rug, and immediately start praying, but I didn't see any cleansing. So are they in violation of their
they're
own?
supposed to wash their hands first. They're supposed to wash before they pray, put their mat down. There's morning prayers, afternoon prayers, evening prayers. This is, matter of fact, I might even have one of the surahs up here where it says about that.
Because traveling all over Africa, being in many Muslim countries, and have been in public squares when the call to prayer came, I wasn't aware that they had to wash their hands, but I've actually seen them.
It's either in the Sharia law or else in the Hadiths.
Stop, put down their mat and pray, and I didn't see anybody washing hands.
You know what? I've never in America seen anybody put their mat down and pray.
But I don't know about that, but I know that we're seeing this in businesses and places where they're demanding that they have a place to wash themselves for their prayers.
A lot of airports have
I'm sure they may do it. I'm just saying that I've actually been in African countries where the call to prayer came over the loudspeaker, and I was right among them, and they just stopped doing what they were doing, and I didn't see anybody wash their hands.
Maybe it's just something to harass the American people and make them give them cleansing washing room. I don't know. I don't know what the reason for it is.
The portion I read was very clear on it that the prayer didn't come unless it was a cleansing. But again, that could have been maybe a Shiite or a Sunni.
Could be. I don't know.
Jesus was moral, and this is a thing that is going to cause problems. And again, we're not showing this to create a hatred or an anger against Muslims, but we are showing what the Hadith says, what the history of Islam teaches, and they don't back down from this. Muhammad married a 6-year-old girl. Muhammad's first wife, Khadija, whom he loved a lot. I mean, he really loved her. She really helped him to be persistent in the writing of the teachings of the Quran. She died a few years before he fled to Medina. And at the age of 49, he was married to Aisha, age 6. Now, they say that the consummation, he waited for that, which was good, but he waited till she was 9. And according to the laws of America and the laws of most countries around the world, that's still an act of pedophilia. That's still wrong.
You're exactly right.
Now, but it wasn't against what they teach, and that you can find that in Bukhari, volume 7, number 65. Let's look at Aisha. Muhammad consummated his marriage to Aisha when she was only 9 years old, and this is from the Hadith, Muslim 83309 and Bukhari 58234. Nowhere in the reliable Hadith or Surah is there any other age given. So it's very clear. This is not a confusion on our part of reading something wrong. They're very clear that everything says that her age, that she was only 9 when it was consummated. The Prophet asked Abu Burqa for Aisha's hand in marriage. Abu Burqa said, I am your brother. The Prophet said, you are my brother in Allah's religion and his book, but she, Aisha, is lawful for me to marry.
So she was his niece?
His niece, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, he also takes his adopted son's wife as his wife also, and then received a revelation from Allah on that. Quran 33:50. O Prophet, surely we have made lawful to you your wives, whom you have given their dowries, and those whom your right hand possesses, out of those whom Allah has given to you as prisoners of war, and the daughters of your paternal uncles, and your daughters of your paternal aunts, and the daughters of your maternal uncles, and your daughters of your maternal aunts who fled with you. And believing women, if she give herself to the Prophet, in other words, he can have as many wives as he wants. He cannot, and another surah I'm going to read a little bit later on, he could not marry someone who's already married. Mm-hmm. He could not commit adultery, but he could if she was a slave. If she was a slave, then at that point in time, even though she was married, he could have sex with her. If the Prophet desired to marry her, especially for you, not for the rest of believers, we know what we have ordained for them concerning their wives and those whom the right hand possesses, in order that no blame may be attached to you. Quran 4:24. And all married women are forbidden unto you, save those captives whom your right hand possesses. So Allah permitted Muhammad and his men to have sex with married slaves as long as they captured in battle. And as you know, the history of Islam, especially in the time of Muhammad, and after that, after he started to grow in power, that there was a lot of wars. There was a lot of cities that were attacked. Bukhari 6:301. O women, give alms, as I've seen that the majority of the dwellers of hellfire were you women. They asked, why is it so, O Allah's apostle? He replied, you curse frequently and are ungrateful to your husbands. I have not seen anyone more deficient in intelligence and religion than you. O cautious, sensible man could be led astray by some of you. The woman asked, O Allah's apostle, what is deficient in our intelligence and religion? He said, is not the evidence of 2 women equal to the witness of 1 man? And so this shows that within the teachings of the Sharia law, the teachings of Islam, that a woman's rights are less than that of a man. In respect to the court system, in respect to even the property owned by a man, in the course of divorces, it's different. In the course of her rights even to protect herself, or her rights to even have someone accused of rape. And we're going to get that a little bit later on as we look at Sharia law. Now, this is from a website, al-islam.org, in reference to laws. Contracting a temporary marriage with a woman is in order. So not only can they have multiple wives, and the Quran says up to 4 wives for the modern Muslim today if he can afford them and take care of them and treat them all properly. But it also, you can contract a temporary marriage. A man can have a temporary wife. He can be traveling and have a temporary wife for a certain length of time. In order, even if it may not be for the sake of sexual pleasure. In other words, he may have one for the purposes of, and I don't know what purpose he would have to have another wife to travel with and maybe take care of the laundry or whatever. The 2431. The obligatory precaution is that a husband should not avoid having sexual intercourse for more than 4 months with a wife of temporary marriage.
Well, that seems like a contradiction.
Exactly. Yes. I'm glad you caught that, because it's like the first one, you can marry them without having sex as being part of the issue, and then the second one says, but after 4 months you have to. So, marrying young girls, Surah 64:4. And we also have a TV clip. We're going to watch that right after this slide. Marrying young girls. Surah 65:4 lays down rules for divorce and sets the prescribed period for divorce. It clearly says Muslim men can marry and divorce little girls who have not yet reached menstruation age. And this is part of their teachings. Let's go to the television clip that we have here. I want you to watch this.
Married at 9 to a 60-year-old man. 8 years on, she's on the run from him. Saida's father died when she was little, and her brothers claimed her as their property. They sold her to the old man as his wife.
If he saw a shoe or a stick, anything, he would beat me with it. I spent 7 years with him. It's as if I was sitting on a hot stove all the time. I had 4 miscarriages because of the beating and the stress.
Then her husband took Saida on the road, all over Afghanistan, to places where they weren't known, to make money from her. He sold her, forced her into having sex with other men.
He would say I was his daughter. He actually sold me to 3 or 4 people. You understand what I mean? He took money from these people. I would cry and say, for God's sake, what's happening to me? When I talk to him, he says he is praying to God for an opportunity to drink my blood. He says he wouldn't even care if he dies after that.
All right, and that's a sad story.
And actually, he's a pimp.
Well, absolutely.
That's all he was.
He had no value, and this is not uncommon. This girl was 9 years old when she was forced into this marriage with this man, sold into a marriage. The girls are seen as property.
Yeah, Dr. Daniel Shayeste, he's been a guest. He's actually been here, and I had the privilege of picking him up at the airport. Spent a good bit of time with him. Great time of fellowship and asking a lot of questions. And he would tell me that beating his wife, he didn't mind beating his wife, but he had some little girls. And they're considered animals.
Right.
And he said, but I couldn't consider my little girls as animals. And he said, that's what bothered me so bad is my little girls were going to grow up and they were going to have the same problem that my wife was having. And of course, we know that he's saved and
he accepted Christ. Yes. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
But he was born and raised in Iran and grew up there, and so he has a marvelous testimony. Loves the most wonderful spirit.
The heart